It's Monday, and I am standing next to a 2015 Lexus RC350 F Sport, which can only mean one thing. It is another episode of Review Mondays, and today's is particularly special because if you remember last week's with the Jeep Gladiator, I had the roughest voice ever. It was very, very uncomfortable to talk, and I'm sure very, very uncomfortable to listen to. But this is not last week's video, but if you do want to go check that out, I'll toss a clicky link thing to it up in the video above me. But again, this is not that video. So without further ado, I am very excited to tell you exactly why this amazing car to my left is so very special, tell you a little bit more about it, and tell you why you should come down to RPM Garage today to check this car out and maybe even buy it. So with that said, because this car is actually for sale, unlike the Jeep Gladiator, let's get into it.
Lost your control, think you're alone, I'm still in your mind. You don't wanna know.
Lexus has been doing an awesome job with the design of their cars as of late, and I am a particularly huge fan of their RC series. I think both the RC350, all the other RCs up to the RCF look absolutely fabulous from the factory, and the fact that this one has been so well upgraded makes it look even better. There is nothing that I don't like about the exterior of this car, and there are so many awesome things that I'm very excited to tell you about. But before I talk about the upgrades, I do have to talk about the one completely factory thing on this car still, and that is the paint. Now this is Ultrasonic Blue Mica 2.0, which is a mouthful of a paint code, but it is an awesome paint color to look at, and I think it looks absolutely amazing with all of the modifications that have been done. With that out of the way then, let's talk about the upgrades. So right off the bat, you'll likely notice that this car is very, very low to the ground, and that is of course due to the Airlift 3P bag suspension, and it looks awesome. The fitment on this car is unreal, and it has some of the best tuck of just about any car I've seen to date. Now, this car wouldn't be complete, at least in terms of suspension, without some amazing wheels, and these 19-inch work multi-piece wheels complete that image perfectly. As you can obviously tell, they are chrome wheels that look fascinatingly against the blue paint, and of course when the cars drop down very, very low on them, it looks even better. But wheels and suspension aren't the only things that have been done. In addition, this car also has NIA side skirts and an NIA front lip, and it helps add to the insane aggressiveness Lexus has already provided this car from the factory. Now, like I said, there are a ton of awesome upgrades that have been done, and these by far are the most subtle, but I think they do the most in terms of making this car look more aggressive, with one exception, and that is the pièce de résistance of this car, and that is that 326 power wing at the rear. Now, I am absolutely in love with that wing, and it is a truly, truly rare wing. Indeed, it is very, very nice. One last modification that has also been made that helps with subtle aggressiveness are these carbon fiber mirror caps. Now, again, they look absolutely stunning on the car, but they do not steal the show from this absolutely amazing rear wing. Although this exterior looks amazing, we do have to talk about some of the other parts of the car. And the first thing we're going to talk about is the engine under the hood. So without further ado, let's make that happen. During last week's video, I declined to open the hood of the Jeep and show it on camera because, quite frankly, I wasn't in the mood to lift my camera, and I quote, 7,000 feet in the air so I could point it down into the engine bay of the Jeep. But this car is quite the opposite of the Jeep, and I'm pretty certain that if I wanted to, I could probably fit a significant amount of this car under the Jeep just between their two ride heights and the difference between them. But I'm not here to talk about ride height. I'm talking about power under the hood, and this Lexus has plenty. To my right is a 3.5 liter V6 engine that produces 306 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque, which is more than enough for a car like this. But quite frankly, I think it's the perfect amount because most sports cars tend to be a bit lacking in the power department and don't always back up their looks with performance. Lexus, thankfully, has considered that, and they have not chinched on power on this RC. More importantly, though, is how the power is delivered, because we all appreciate good power, but we also appreciate how it's delivered, and thankfully, it is delivered to the rear wheels, and that means that you can have a lot of fun or do a lot of stupid things, depending on how you'd like to utilize this car, without hesitation. You have a lot of opportunity with this car, and the fact that it is delivered to the rear wheels through an 8-speed automatic transmission with paddle shifters means you have a great deal of control, or if you so choose, zero control whatsoever, for exactly how much torque and exactly how much power you get at any given moment. Now, as with any engine, we would hope that there is a nice noise associated with it, and thankfully, Lexus has not cheaped out on that either. At the back is a twin-tipped F Sport exhaust that produces a surprisingly awesome note for a factory engine and a factory exhaust, which means that we're going to have a startup at the end of this video, unlike the Jeep Gladiator. Although I am curious if you wouldn't mind leaving me feedback in the comments which you prefer, the startup video or having, the car or truck drive over the camera to see what's underneath. As an undisputably 6'2" individual, don't dare dispute me on that, I struggle when it comes to finding an interior that will fit me. And while this may sound like the intro to a bad infomercial, it is a serious concern that I do have to deal with when I'm car shopping. So when I had the opportunity to sit in this car, my expectations were, as you'd expect, relatively low, because it is, at the end of the day, a two-door sports car that, most vehicles in the genre don't typically offer a lot of headroom or a lot of leg and arm room for the taller folk. But I was pleasantly surprised. This offers more than plenty of interior space for my head, for my arms, and for my legs, and the leather bucket seats are amazingly comfortable to sit in and obviously very, very supportive as well. Best yet, though, they are adjustable. So one of the key features of this car in the interior is that it is spacious beyond belief, and this, in conjunction with the leather seats adjustability, means that you can take these seats as far back or as far forward as humanly possible, and that is one of the best features you could possibly ask for in any sports car. There are a couple of other cool things in the interior as well. The aftermarket things include the Airlift 3P bag suspension controller and the paddle shift extender. So, to talk about the controller first, it is always nice having the ability to control your ride height, and the fact that you can do it with installed presets by the touch of a button and the, of course, compressors mounted in the car, you have the ability to air out as low as this if you so choose when you're parking, or raise it up and clear pretty much anything. I was actually able to clear several speed bumps in this parking garage as I was coming in to film. In regards to the paddle shifters, when you do have this car in its manual mode, it is great being able to consistently hit your shifts, because my biggest issue with paddle shifters that aren't necessarily expected on cars like a sports car is the ability to consistently hit them when you're driving, especially when you're taking corners or when you're necessarily right behind the paddle shifter to click it. These have been significantly extended though, so you do have the ability to hit your shift every single time you try, which is always the absolute best, and I do really appreciate the owner for, I guess the previous owner, for having done this, because it does make shifting very, very nice indeed. When it comes to stock options though, this car has been left with a plenty of options indeed. Now, one of my favorites is the infotainment. I love Lexus infotainment systems because they are controlled by about a playing card sized mouse pad or touchpad, if you will. You have the ability to control everything with the tip of your finger, and it is fascinatingly fun to do, especially when you're driving. And if I'm being honest, it is a bit distracting, but it is very, very cool, and I appreciate Lexus for doing it in just about their entire range of cars. Other features on the infotainment system also include the rear camera, Bluetooth, and a navigation system. So the that you would hope to get in a relatively modern car with a fair amount of options. Altogether, it is a very, very nice interior to be in. And as I mentioned before, you do have the ability to select your driving mode, which is always a great feature, especially if you're looking for a more economical daily commute, or if you really do want to amp up the power and have a little bit of fun. You have the full ability to do so just by the click of a button. Lastly, this car also has a sunroof, and that is not an outlandishly crazy feature on any car, but on a sports car, they are surprisingly few and far between, and I didn't really know that until I spent several months reviewing cars and finding that they really didn't have sunroofs. So I am pleased to announce that this car does have a sunroof, and if a sunroof is on your bucket list, this car meets it. So that being said, let's take a second to wrap up the video, and then we'll do a startup for you. Before I reveal the final price of this car and exactly how many miles it has, I have to say one thing first. The merch is finally here. I'm wearing it, as you probably noticed, and I am so proud to present one of many of our shirts, and I highly recommend that you go to our website or to our Instagram whenever those come available, because they are definitely worth having, and I don't know how long they're going to last. But for example, this is the RPM Garage X Off-White collaboration. It looks absolutely amazing, and I absolutely love this shirt. This is mine. I love it, and I will probably be wearing it a lot more than just in these videos. I will also be wearing some of our other merchandise in videos to come, so I highly urge you to stay tuned for those as well. Now, in regards to this car, this has 82,000 miles on the odometer, but you have to remember that it is at its heart of hearts a Toyota, which means that it is only at a fraction of the total miles that it is capable of achieving. So with that in mind, this is an absolutely reliable car with an MSRP of well over $60,000 to even $70,000 with all of the upgrades that have been done to it. So the fact that it is listed currently for only $36,991 is an absolute steal, especially given, again, all of the upgrades and the reliability that you get with it. With that in mind then, thank you so very much for watching today's video. I know I greatly appreciate your time, as well as everyone at the RPM Garage, and we all hope that you will take the time to like this video, share it with a friend, and even subscribe to the channel, because that would be absolutely amazing. In addition, you should also totally check out our Instagram, our TikTok, our Facebook, and our inventory. All of those will be linked below for you to check out. And as always, I'll catch you guys in the next one.